Are you ready? Stand by.
Welcome to the 3-Gun Show, episode 34. I am your host, Dave Hartman, and this week I have an amazing interview with Patrick Kelley. Patrick spits a ton of gems in this episode at a high rate of fire, so you're definitely going to have to listen twice. Before we get into the interview, I want to thank you for downloading and listening to the show. The 3-Gun Show is a weekly podcast dedicated to the fastest growing shooting sport, 3-Gun. Each week I bring you a new episode featuring an awesome 3-gun athlete, a manufacturer of multi-gun specific products, and sometimes both. Now, if you listen to last week's interview, you know that Mo Shaw from Team Seekins Precision was on, and he had an amazing episode where he went through the ins and outs of sponsorship. And to show what a great sponsored athlete he is, he actually reached out to Seekins Precision beforehand to see if he could do a giveaway for you guys. And Seekins came through. They came up with a SBA 15 billet upper and lower receiver set, and that A is for ambidextrous, which is kind of cool. It also includes a safety lever. Now, this is $550 worth of stuff. It is an FFL product, so you will have to pass a background check and stuff like that. If you want to win this item, check out 3gunshow.com/SeekinsMo, SeekinsMo. And we're going to do the drawing on Monday, September 28th at midnight Mountain Time, so get in on it now. In this episode, Patrick and I cover everything from shotgun fitment to his favorite matches to how he got started in shooting and everything in between. We get all over the board, but it's an amazing interview with tons of great information. And like I said before, you're definitely gonna have to listen to it twice because Patrick talks really pretty fast, and in that brief period of time, he covers so much ground that you're not gonna get it all at once. So links to everything we cover can be found in the show notes, and that's 3gunshow.com/episode 34. And now please join me in welcoming the show, the guru of shotguns, Patrick Kelley. Patrick, thank you for joining me on the 3-Gun Show.
Hey, happy to be here.
All right, well, this is really exciting. We've got Patrick Kelley, the man who you've seen on all the gear reviews on 3Gun Nation over the years. Couple of websites that Patrick runs is one is Multigun Media, and it's multigunmedia.com, where you can see some awesome photography and pretty much as it's described of multigun. Another one is youtube.com/multigunvideo, where you can see fantastic YouTube videos that Patrick does. And Patrick, I'm really excited for your fresh from the box videos that you've been doing lately. What was the idea for that?
It's weird, that whole genre is catching on. I watch. I'm a YouTube guy. I watch Hickok 45 and Nut and Fancy. And their formats are great. Iraqi Veteran 888, good stuff. Military Arms Channel with Mac, good stuff. But everyone's really long, and I wanted to cut something down in just a matter of. I want to do it 15 minutes or less, and so far I've been able to maintain that. And just say here's a shooter's perspective. These guys all shoot, and they're all, especially Hickok 45 shot IPSC and silhouette way back when, and I shot silhouette way back when, and I shoot IPSC and action shooting now. So anyways, I went, this is going to be a different perspective. Maybe this will catch on because no one, I don't think it really is willing to bash their ego grabbing a gun out of the box and shooting it in a tournament and go, okay, here's how I shot, here's how it worked. But people are catching on and realizing it's not about me so much as about the tool that I'm using. Although there is a little ancillary something else you can draw from it, that you don't have to have the latest and best equipment in order to shoot well. It really is about the fundamentals. So it's a two-edged sword. People get to enjoy some information, some data points on a new firearm out of the box as it is, and they also, the really deep ones, start to pick up that there's something to a guy that can just pick up a gun and shoot it. It's not the man so much as it is the skills that guy possesses, and that anyone who is a student of the firearm can learn to do the exact same thing.
I dig that message too. That's, something I've said for a long time is money spent on training or money spent on ammunition is better than buying that extra gun or the next big thing that comes down the line. So that's kind of cool to see.
Absolutely. And it's good you feel that way, because we love gear. Okay. We're all a bunch of gear queers. We love cool new stuff and tweaking triggers and better sights. And that's okay. And if the goal there is to get you to use the tool more, fine. Put a coat of paint on it, put a new front sight on it, put a new spring in it, whatever it is. If that makes you go out and train with it, it's done its job. Jim Clark Sr., the patriarch of Clark Custom, Jim Clark Jr., who is now the head of the shop, along with Jerry Michalik and Kay and the whole clan. Jim Clark Sr. said many years ago, if you think it makes a difference, it does. And that's really where the game is played between the ears. So if you think you need a compensator, you think you need a new front sight, you think you need a wider rear notch, you think you need a muzzle, whatever you think you need, if you have that item, then check it off the list. One of the best guys I shot bullseye with, I shot bullseye for many years. 5 or 6 years, until I got really good at it and I quit. I have a real problem with that. If I get really good at something, I quit. And I can never quit 3-gun because you can never get too good at it. But in bullseye, you shoot so many 10 rings and you got all the 10s. But a guy that I shot with had Ed Masaki, a really good bullseye smith, built him a custom 45, and he bought a Hammerly 208S. So literally the next match he shot a little better, but I went and talked to him. I said, dude, you've really done the right thing. He said, what do you mean? I said, you have bought no excuses. You have to look in the mirror. The man you shave in the morning is the only guy making the mistakes. So he was done buying gear. From there on in, he had to improve his skill set if he was going to keep getting better at the sport. And once you do that, there's nothing to look back at. It's just other than continue to press on, mastering the fundamentals.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's when you're taking the gear out of the equation and you don't have that gear to blame, you only have yourself to blame. It puts the onus on you to get better and to shoot better.
No, absolutely. I'll give you too many stories. I'll wear you guys out. Maybe the audience will enjoy it. I don't know, but I used to shoot metallic pistol silhouette, handgun metallic silhouette, international handgun metallic silhouette, IHMSA. And there was a cat that early in my shooting career, all I shot was standing. And the guy said, we have other positions to shoot from, and you can shoot a 4-gun aggregate, and you really ought to because you're a really good standing shooter. But I shot standing at the first few matches I shot, and I was able to, the very first competition I ever shot was metallic silhouette, and I was able to rise the ranks rather quickly. I mean, I'm in my 30s, I've got eyes like an eagle, I can steady hold. It's fundamentals, break the shot, target falls over, big deal. But I had beat a local legend champion at a match, and sure enough, after the match, which I didn't know this at the time, but after the match, he came up to me and showed me a case in a 7 TCU that had separated, incipient separation between just above the case head where the web of the case goes from thick to narrow, where the case body thins out, and it broke right there. And that's not unusual for a case that's been loaded a lot or you got a excessive headspace or something. Anyways, he showed me the case. Oh, yeah, I would have beat you. This just wouldn't have happened. It's dumb luck. I said, oh, man, that's really bad. I won't give you the guy's name. I said, that was really a shame, and I felt bad because I'm a new guy. Well, a couple of the other cats caught me later on and said, hey, did he pull that case separation thing with you? Yeah, that's been in his shirt pocket for 12 years.
He's just waiting for the guy to beat him so he could blame that on him.
So
right?
He could blame it on equipment. And I think that stuck with me. It's like it's almost never the equipment. Unless your gun doesn't go bang, which is our notorious auto shotguns. Those are the things that don't go bang on occasion. Spend your money on good gear and go learn to shoot better. You'll be a much happier man for the result.
John, that's a great message. So, Patrick, you've mentioned, I used to shoot silhouette. I used to shoot Steel Challenge and stuff like that. And you said in your 30s, so that was just a couple years ago, right?
Yeah. I'm 55. I shot my first actual legit competition in December of 1987.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Let's see, what was I doing?
Yeah, what were you doing?
So, what was that first competition like for you, and what made you go out and shoot that first time?
Well, it was kind of interesting. I kind of fell in reading all the gun magazines like everyone else did, and whether it was J.D. Jones with his big bore contenders, And I'm going to butcher his last name. I hope I don't. Ross Seyfried or Seyfried, who still writes for one of the hunting magazines, and he's a big bore revolver guy. He won the IPSC World Championships in 1984 with a Packmeyer Combat Special, basically a 5-inch government model with chrome on it and some nice sights, built by Frank Packmeyer in Los Angeles. And he won the World Championships with it. And I wouldn't call myself a disciple of him, but I read everything he wrote. He ended up doing some professional hunting in Africa. He did big bore rifles, big bore handguns, and I just went, wow, that's cool stuff. And Silhouette was around, obviously, then. It was around before then. But I went, wow, big bore handguns, accuracy, this all sounds cool. Now, IPSC didn't catch my eye. It was this. So I said, I'm going to try that. And besides contenders, we're well within Thompson Center contenders. We're well within my budget. So I bought one, and to keep the price down, I cast bullets for it for 30-30 Winchester and loaded ammo, and went out and shot it a few times. And wow, I can hit just about anything I want to. And this is mid-'80s down in Southern California where I lived at the time. And then I moved up to the Northwest. I won't get to the story why, but I moved to the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, found a local club, loaded up my ammo, went out to the range and went, I'm going to try this because I'd read about Silhouette, and it was a perfect fit for my single-shot 30-30 contender. And I loved it. And I shot it for several years, did rather well at it, met a lot of great people, and had a good time.
And all history from there.
Well, yeah, it's weird how one thing feeds on another.
Well, yeah, and like you mentioned, you once you get good at something, you want to move on. So it seems like a pretty easy sport to jump around in.
Shooting is. There's so many different facets of it, and it's one of the things I'd like to see people not do. And I think it's less than it used to be, but people used to bash other sports. So, I mean, there was, for a long time, and there still is to a certain degree, USPSA, IDPA, who gives a crap? Go shoot. Enjoy yourself. This is shooting. And we're all one very small brotherhood of shooters, especially guys who are willing to lay their ego on the line and compete. Those are extra special people in my mind, and they're my favorite people because they have tasted the small victories and, more importantly, had their ego bruised in defeat. And that builds character and teaches you something about yourself. And it's a good character builder. It's good for you, not just to lose, but to have ventured into the crucible of competition. And I like those kind of people. So any game, anytime. And I'm going to this Trigicon 12-stage craziness in Kentucky later this year, or later in October. And it's 12 stages of all kinds of different guns. You don't know what they are till you get there, and go shoot them and see how well you do. That's wonderful.
Now, that match sounds amazing because it is exactly what we were just talking about, which is taking the gear out of the question because everyone has the exact same gear.
Yes. And the cream always rises to the top. Now, we'll see how it goes this year, but I have no doubt if Daniel Horner shoots the match and Jerry shoots the match, they will be right there at the top because they are some of the most practiced and well-skilled all-around shooters that we have currently in any game. Yeah, they both happen to be three-gunners. Well, three-gunners almost by definition are more well-versed in a wider variety of shooting sports because they have to use three guns accurately, at speed, up close, out far. I mean, all the three basic tools of firearms, rifle, pistol, and shotgun, are well mastered by the top three-gun competitor. Now, yes, we have an advantage. I can include myself among them as a three-gunner because we are more versed in the tools. Now, if you are a dedicated sporting clays guy, you're Gibbon Miles or somebody, one of the top sporting clay shooters, or my buddy Tracy Wright, and you go to shoot, well, you come to the shotgun portion. Well, there's a little sporting clays, and there might be a skeet stage, and then there might be a combat shotgun stage. Well, two of the three you're probably going to do well on. The combat stage you may not do well on, but the three-gunner is going to go, well, I can shoot flying stuff because I do in three-gun. And I can shoot crossing flying stuff in skeet because I do that in three-gun. Oh, on the combat stuff, that's right up three-gun's alley. So now you have the most versatile shooter rising to the top. Daniel Horner, Greg Jordan, like I say, Jerry Michlik is, I'm sure Jerry wants to, I pronounce his name wrong every time. But either way, I know he's there to win it. I mean, he was last year, but I think the fire's lit. He wants to win it this year.
That'll be a pretty sweet matchup if him and Horner both show up and have to shoot the same gear. Yeah, I got to see them both shoot in Raton at Rocky Mountain 3-Gun.
Mm-hmm.
And talk about like some fierce competitors. It was incredible. But, unfortunately, they shoot in different divisions. So it'd be cool to see them shoot, head to head like that.
Well, in that format, that's what it is. You show up, and some of the guns you get to shoot a couple of cider shots. And other ones, it's like, there they are. You can fondle them. You can handle them. You can dry fire them. Okay, step to the line. Okay, let's do this. And it's a lot of fun. I think but again, I played the game, so I'm not going to be rude to anyone because I have an understanding of it. The bullseye shooters, the hard holders from a Marine Corps team, Brian Zinn, somebody like that. Although Brian can shoot about anything, he's a 11 or 13 time Camp Perry champion. I mean, he can do anything. If Rob Leatham decided he was going to come out and shoot, Rob is like, really? Oh yeah, you guys are good, but I'm Rob Leatham. And people think Rob just shoots pistols. Rob won the Soldier Fortune match many years ago. I think he only shot it a couple of times, but he shot a M1A because he's been shooting for Springfield since Christ was a corporal. But he was shooting an M1A in 243. But he can do anything. He's a sporting clays wizard. I shoot down at Rio Salado when I go down there for the Superstition match, and I shoot a metric ton of clays while I'm down there. And guys in the course, oh yeah, Rob Leatham, oh yeah, he shoots here all the time because he shoots 5-stand and 40 clays. He's good at everything. Don't ever count that guy out when he enters a competition, no matter what it is.
Do you feel like that specific cross training in, today I'm going to go out and shoot skeet, or today I'm going to go out and shoot 5-stand, or I'm going to like a bowling pin match or something like that? Do you feel like that is a good way for a person to practice for a 3-gun, or do you feel that you need to have all three of them going all the time?
Well, I got to try and not concern myself what the audience might think about what I'm going to say. But I believe it's everything is transferable. It's trigger control and sight alignment. And it even is when you're shooting clays. Now, instead of your emphasis placed on the front sight or the crosshair or the reticle, you're placing it squarely on the moving piece, which is what we're supposed to do. We have incisors and our eyes in front of our face. We're hunters, and we respond to moving stimuli. So if you have a flying target, go look at the flying target and let the brain figure out where the muzzle's got to be in relationship to that moving target. And if you just get it out of your own way, it becomes easier to do. Now, the cool thing about sporting clays is that the targets have all kinds of crazy angles, and that's intentional to fool the optics, to have your eyeball go, it's doing something it's not. And that's why you miss the target. Otherwise, they're pretty much all crossers and quartering targets and occasional incomer, and that's all there is. So you break it down to its smallest piece, it's just a target moving in time and space over a very narrow time and space. But I got off track. All shooting transfers to other shooting in my mind. And instead of, I know a lot of guys, especially 3-gunners, love to practice stages. Nope. I'm a Rob Leatham-ite in that regard. I practice fundamentals on small drills because every drill can be applied to any application. Every stage can't be applied to every other application, but mastering the fundamentals applies to everything. So make it simple, make your practice time worth something. Set up a short drill, strong hand, weak hand, left shoulder, right shoulder. You can, if you want to, you can shoot, on a knee or one knee or underneath something or gun sideways, but you don't need to spend the time to set up a 3-gun, 33 round field course and practice it 12 times in a row. You aren't going to get as much out of it in my mind if you set up just 6 paper targets with some no shoots and practice, transition with rifle or pistol, or do some, go from rifle to pistol to slugs on the upper panels or whatever it is. And you can do that in an hour and you're done.
Awesome. And so do you then practice one weapon at a time, or do you work in transitions?
I work, and I got that from Sergeant Gill, former Sergeant Gill. He's not a former Marine, he's a Marine. Sergeant Gill explained, and it was really good. He's really broke it down. Very scientific approach. And I wanted at the Pro Series match, 3-Gun Nation Pro Series match, he said, literally looked right in the eye, which he would. He's got one eye, which is kind of off-putting sometimes. But he looked at me and said, hey, what's your transition between the shotgun and the rifle? And I kind of stalled for a second. Well, he knew down to the 10th of a second. He said, we've trained a lot on this. We know that it's X amount of seconds to transition from this gun to this gun. If the targets are, within the Pro Series, that's, 8-yard target or 15-yard target. So he had that part down. much like we did way back when, knew how fast our reloads were, our static reloads. Yeah, 1.5 second was a benchmark, and now it's 1 second or a 0.9 or a 1.1. And you knew that was a skill set you had to have in your tool bag to play the game. Well, in 3-gun, we do transitions. So you ought to know how long it takes you to transition. Why? Because especially in the 3-gun nations style matches, you may just want to shoot your shotgun dry and transfer to pistol for the remaining shotgun/pistol targets, as opposed to loading your shotgun. Or do you know the difference between loading your shotgun speed and transitioning to pistol? Well, Gill knows that. Sergeant Gill knew that. And I stepped back for a second. It's like, well, I'm supposed to know everything, damn it. No, you don't, Pat. You're continually a student. You can learn from everyone, and especially if someone as astute as he is with how to approach the game. He's a solid shooter and knows how to play.
I like that. And I like that idea of continuing to learn as well. So when you made the transition into 3-gun, first of all, when was that, and what made you decide to do it? And then how did that learning curve go for you?
Okay. Let's see. Started in silhouette. A buddy of mine mentioned IPSC. I bought a 45. The next weekend, I shot a match and won it, so I started shooting USPSA, IPSC. A year after that, I wanted to get more accurate, so I started shooting bullseye. I was shooting bullseye and IPSC, USPSA at the same time. And then somewhere in the mid 95, 6, 7, somewhere in there, we started seeing a shotgun side match at a USPSA match or a rifle side event. So I went, I gotta have a shotgun. So I got one of those and a rifle. Well, I didn't have much in the way of rifle. I didn't buy my first AR until 94. So yeah, I probably had one then. So I started shooting a side match. Well, this is kind of cool. And then I heard about a 3-gun match. So I went to a 3-gun match and I went, wow, this is far more gear intensive. I like the equipment. I like the challenge. By then I'd made GM limited, and I made GM open too, but I shot a limited gun and everything because that's what I had. I had an open gun for a brief period of time, and I have a speed issue. I like to go very, very fast. That's why I don't ride dirt bikes anymore, because I ride over my head all the time, and I tend to shoot over my head. It's my nature. So, but limited guns kept me kind of like a governor. You can only run one so fast until hit stuff. So I ran one of both. About 97, I think I made GM. And then the 3-gun really bit. And I think 99 was my first real deal match. I shot Soldier Fortune. Then it was all bets are off. I shot every area championships when Area 1 had a 3-gun match, and then another Soldier Fortune, and then Superstition, and then the gloves are off. And that's all I do is shoot that. And local steel challenge now, which really thrills me because I love shooting steel challenge.
That's great.
That's the quick and the dirty right there of the whole history.
I dig it. Well, thanks for being on the show. No, I'm just kidding. No, I dig that. And then it's cool that you've stuck with 3-gun this long. And, like you mentioned earlier, it's always changing and you can never really master it. So tell us, or give the audience an idea of what those matches were like in the early days. Cause I'm guessing a lot of folks may have never even heard of Soldier of Fortune, or been fortunate enough to have shot with someone who's shot Soldier of Fortune. So tell us about those early day matches, and then kind of how they've morphed over the years into what we see on 3-Gun Nation today when we pop on the television.
Well, they began long before I got into it, so I could not be the custodian nor the historian for Soldier of Fortune, but I'll just give you how I felt it ran, and what kind of stages I saw, and how much I enjoyed it.
Fair enough.
Because I know it predates me by at least 10 years, if not a dozen years. I shot at 99, 2000, 2001. I think I shot at 3 years. And then 2002, I think it was the last year, or the next to last year, I went to Laughlin, Nevada, and that was it. They had a 25-year run, I think, and good job. And they were a hardworking crew, and they put up good matches, good stages. Soldier of Fortune was unusual in that it was real practical shooting. Now, that can be a sore word with some people, because it really is just a game, and I enjoy the game. And like I said, all games are good. All shooting games are good. Go play them. Let's not look at each one and go, oh, well, that one's better than this one. They're all good. Go shoot them. But Soldier of Fortune was truly practical in that all the stages were surprise or semi-surprise stages where you didn't get a chance to really look the stages over. You could stand outside the stage and you could see some of what was going on, and there was a course description, but you didn't go walk down the range at all. You really didn't know. I mean, it was SA1, shooting area 1, SA2, SA3, And the course description might be from SA1, engage targets, rifle targets 1 through 6. From shooting area B, rifle targets 7 through 9, and pistol targets, pistol droppers 5 through 13. And then when you get to shooting area 4, shoot slugs and buckshot at the appropriate targets as required. That's it. What? Yep, that's it. Are you ready?
Wow, pretty open.
Stand by. Whoa! And sometimes you'd open a door or go around a corner, and you literally might be seeing the targets for the very first time when you're looking through your sights or over your sights. Oh, that target. Because you recognize this is a dropper style target. You hit it and it drops down a notch. You hit it again, it drops down another notch. Or it may just drop down a whole notch if you hit it high. Round targets, kind of like Striga Nation does. A round target might be designated this, or paper targets designated that. And you go down range and shoot these things. The other thing was it was super cool prop heavy. Now people go, oh yeah, we had a 55-gallon drum you set on like a horse. Well, that's kind of cool. But what about a real deuce and a half on the range? As you shoot underneath. One day, guy drove onto the range, and you shoot underneath that. One time they had deuce and a half on the range, and they had a trailer that the guy actually used to come along, overturned it on its side with a set of fence posts, very long fence posts that he has set it up as, but in fact it was a load that had rolled off on a high-speed turn and it was laying there, and you shot underneath that stuff. Talk about OSHA-WISHA concerns. Come on. Be careful of this. Don't care about ricochets. Don't shoot steel too close. If you lift your muzzle up, you're shooting on the inside of a C channel of a truck frame. So if you decided to lift your muzzle up 8 inches, you could shoot into the frame of the truck at 4 feet. Don't be stupid. Don't do that. That was the mantra. Don't do something stupid. What are you, an idiot?
Yeah,
no, I'm not. Well, then.
Big boy rules there.
Big boy rules. Now, it wasn't big boy rules. Laissez-faire, caution to the wind, go get yourself hurt. But because of most of the competitors at the match, they wintered out the posers and those who really couldn't get through the mindset, and it was more cerebral in that you really had to think about what you were doing. A case in point would be on stage 6, you will begin the stage with 100 points. What? Your time is added to that 100 points minus your score. Okay, so you got 100 points, and it took you 55 seconds. Oh, I get it. And if I can shoot the most amount of points and do it faster, my total time. Got it. That's to keep away a guy from getting a 0. So you had to think about this. Okay, so I want to get that. Pretty much shoot it as fast as you can, hit everything. But some stages, you got more points for hitting it the first time than you did for the second time. So on a rifle stage, buzzer goes off. You can shoot as many rounds as you want, but only the first shot counts for 10 points. The second shot counts for 5, and the third shot counts for squat.
Huh.
Oh my God. So the pressure's on. It was a wonderful match, very well run. Scores were great. Prize table was incredible. And it was really weird. I got done shooting the match and I go home. I go, wow, I only shot, 99 rounds of 45 ACP. I only shot 101 rounds of rifle and 55 rounds of buckshot and 10 slugs. I didn't shoot very much. Were you entertained the whole time, Pat? Yes. Were you challenged the whole time, Pat? Yes. So did I need to shoot a lot of rounds to have a good time? No. But now that's where 3-gun has gone. The customer, and the customer's always right, the customer wants, if I'm going to travel, I'm going to get on an airplane and fly 500 miles, I want a lot of rounds to shoot. Okay. So it's hard to be as creative because the crew Soldier of Fortune was paid to be there. They weren't paid a king's ransom, but they were paid enough to have fun in Las Vegas, afford a hotel room and enjoy libations and hang out by the pool when you're done and have some fun. But the setup crew was there a week ahead of time, setting everything up on the range, Las Vegas Desert Sportsmen. And they got paid a meager wage to be there, to bring their kit, to bring up their equipment. Guys would build their own electronics and bring their own stuff. It was really a labor of love match, and you could tell when you went there that's what it was. The range officers had to want to be there because it's Las Vegas desert. You've been there for a week setting up, and you're there for 4 days running stupid shooters through. So you had to want to be there, and it showed. Yeah, there was always a couple of bonehead ROs, but almost every match in the country has a bonehead RO. But ding dang it, they're volunteering. So I get to go have fun. So thank you very much, range officers.
Oh, for sure. I actually got to do my first stint as a range staff a couple weeks ago, and I have a whole new respect for range officers. So if you if you ever feel like arguing with a range officer, think twice and volunteer, definitely.
Absolutely, it is, for the most part. It really is a volunteer sport. It really is. I'm amazed every time I go to these matches. Hey, thanks a lot for providing me with entertainment. I paid to be here. This is entertainment. I could be on a cruise ship somewhere if I wanted to be once a year. No, thank you. Even if you got to shoot off the fantail, that's not enough shooting. So it's one of those things that I pay to be here. This is my entertainment, and these guys are gracious and generous enough to be out there to allow me to have some fun doing what I like to do. And then I say thank them for it, and they're like, "No, we had a great time." Really, are you? What kind of person are you that you like? I like being out here, says Mr. RO. I like being out here. I like meeting the people. And the really smart ones recognize that they are getting classes every time a squad comes through. They learn techniques by watching shooters. If they're very observant, they get to see cool things happen. They get to see what equipment works, what guns work, what they don't, what techniques work, how to approach a stage, all that. They take notes. My guess is a lot of the ROs could teach because they have seen every way to do it wrong at least once.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's interesting when you get to an RO that's candid and you're like, all right, so what's everyone else been doing? And they're not supposed to, do any coaching or anything. But by the end of the day, when they're willing to talk and there's no more shooters, then you hear like, oh, this was the absolute wrong way to do it. This is the right way to do it. And then you always hear like, I wish I would have shot it like this. So,
yes, they don't have the benefit of that. After the fact, they're like, dang, I just watched Daniel do that. And instead of, stopping here and shooting that, he shot all these from right here. I was like, I don't wish I'd have thought of that. I do the same thing, though. If I have a weakness, it is not so much in my ability to pull a trigger and place a shot accurately. My biggest weakness really is something I don't do so much of anymore, and that's dope stages. Figure out stages, break down a stage. When I shot pistol matches a couple times a month, I got good at it because you had to do it a lot. You immerse yourself in it and you learn how to do it. But 3-gun, I shoot, I don't know, between 5 and 7, maybe 8 majors a year and nothing local. Nothing local. So it's only major matches, and those the only time, once every 2 months or once every 6 weeks, it's like, okay, I'm at another match. Oh man, what do I got to figure out here? So I try to come up with something really simple. And if I'm up first, I try to execute, execute as well as I can a simple plan. And then afterwards, it's like, oh man, Craig Outson, you just shot it the right way. Or, you watch Travis Gibson, because he's a guy that will, if there's a crazy way to do it, he's kind of much like Jesse Tischhauser in that regard. I'm not trying to compare you two guys, but both those guys will come up with some crazy way to do it. And if it works, wow, that was a good idea. But a lot of times it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's for sure. The hero's bet, for me rarely works out too. The more conservative path is what I try to stick with as well.
Yes. So if you can get squatted with good guys, it really does help. This 3-Gun Nation Nationals is coming up 9th and 10th October in Tulsa. I was able to get on a squad with Craig Outson and Travis Gibson and Wyatt Gibson. Now, I think Travis has actually improved because Wyatt has gotten so good. And there's a little father-son rivalry, and that's to be expected. I mean, you don't want your son to beat you too soon in the career. Travis is not an old dude yet. And I think Wyatt might be 16. And Wyatt
I think he's 16.
Yeah, Wyatt can play. So it's like, okay, I'm going to have to really, I can hero or zero this, but if I do that, the kid's going to kick my butt again. And not that Travis walks around with his head in the sand, because the kid does that. He's proud of it, I'm quite sure. But at the same time, you got to believe that, yeah, Travis would like to win a couple more matches before it's only Wyatt winning them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, before he goes to be full-time coach.
Yes. So
yeah,
having those guys in the squad is great. So
that's fantastic. Those guys have been on the show too. I had Travis on episode 3, and he said exactly what you just did. Is that teaching Wyatt and coaching Wyatt, and then also having that rivalry has made him a better shooter as well.
Yes, and again, smart guys will say shoot with better shooters because you get to see you get coached, you get to see what's going on, and you know how it is in this game, especially 3-gun. We are very forthcoming. I rarely Somebody goes, I'm not telling you how to do it. I don't think I've ever heard that. Other than a guy saying, I have a really crappy plan. You don't want to hear it. Okay, I'll take that. I'll accept that. But other than that, it's like, oh, really, your gear went down. Here's this. And it could be a direct competitor. A quick case in point. I've never been great at loading a shotgun until I started loading two. And I load well enough that I can hold my own at most events. But now the quad load has gotten so perfect. It's like, I got to try that. I got to try that. And I have birth defects in my hands where there's a thumb joint. You have the knuckle out there by the nail and the next joint back closer to the web of the hand. Well, I possess the joint, but my tendons are attached on the wrong side, so I don't have any use of that joint. So my thumbs don't flex like everyone else's do. But I wanted to figure out how to quad load, and I've just started playing with it the last couple of days. And who helped me to do that? My buddy Keith Garcia. I actually got a hold of Keith on Facebook and said, Keith, I really want to learn to quad load, and I played with it, and there's something about the grab. There's got to be some way I can do this. And he sent me a personal video. That's Keith Garcia. Now, I don't think Keith, he would be very gracious and say, "Oh yeah, Pat's a threat. He could probably, hold his own with me." Well, when I'm at my best, if I just have one of those great days, maybe. But he also didn't share it with me because he knew that there was no threat. But he shared it with me because he's a gracious fella who said, "Yeah, Pat, I want to help you out. You're a buddy of mine. Here's the keys to the kingdom." Now, the video is not very high quality because he sent over a phone. But I could see a gist of what he's talking about, and he gave me a couple salient points that I'm trying to apply. And dang it, if I can, I'd love to be able to have that down before the Three Gun Nation Regionals, or Three Gun Nation Nationals, so I can quad load for my first time. I would love to be able to quad load.
That's awesome. And, we hear that all the time in the sport, top level competitors helping each other out, and top level competitors like Keith, helping out, new guys.
Yes.
Too. But Patrick, I got to ask, did the video that he shot, was that vertical?
Yes.
Oh my God. So someone's got to tell him that he's recording video like a 13-year-old girl. I told him once on Facebook, and he's like, "All right, I'll do the next one." And he did the next one horizontal, like, we normally watch movies, Jurassic Park, things like that. And then he's since gone back to vertical. He needs an intervention.
Yeah, maybe, but I don't think I'm man enough to do it. So I'm gonna let Keith do whatever he wants to do.
All right. Well, maybe he'll listen to this, and we'll give him a ribbing next time I see him.
Yes.
So, Patrick, before we started talking here, you told me to rein you in if we get off topic. We may have taken a little bit of a squirrel trail because we didn't quite talk about the transition of three gun over the years into the stages that we shoot now.
Yes. Okay. They say Soldier of Fortune was an animal unto itself. And before its demise, probably, I don't know, I can't think of what the first year of Superstition was, but again, it predates me by a couple years. But Superstition, Mountain Mystery 3-gun, Dan Furby, I believe he had shot Soldier of Fortune. In fact, I'm sure he had more than once. And several of the shooters in that area had shot it. They're like, well, we got to have a match here. Let's have a match here. So they did. And instead of being Soldier of Fortune-like, they have access to lots of bays. And the match is actually not too long after Area 2. So there's always some cool props from Real Salado they use. And so they decided to have a 3-gun match. And quite honestly, it's my very favorite match of the year. Now, I might upset a few match directors out there, and I'm sorry about that, but a couple of things collide at that match. That one, it's very straightforward, not a whole lot of thinking, which is it's not a dumb match. It's not an easy match. Speed is always the element that can hang anyone. If you're a really good shooter, you can go faster. If you're not so good shooter, you can still hit all the targets because they're there. You don't have to memorize. You don't have to know exactly where to step to get exactly that target. Now, there are advantages. The stages always allow them, lend themselves to the more astute competitor, the guy that realizes, if I lean right here, I can get that one and that one, but it's a tougher shot. Or I can move 2 feet down the range and they're wide open targets. That's the beauty of great course design, in my opinion. That there are multiple ways to solve the problem, and this is problem solving, but it's straightforward. The long-range targets are always clear and easy to see. I think 350 yards is one of their long shots. But they're easy targets to see. They're right there. Good backers, good definition. Good guys on binoculars. A lot of times they use the LaRues that fall. And I know guys whine about LaRues. Got to hit them high, they don't fall. Well, I've never had none. I never had one not fall for me. And yeah, maybe I've hit it a few times, but I'm pretty confident I'm always hitting the guard plate, the baffle plate, low on it, and that's my fault. So, but anyways, the match itself very well run, very tight ship, generally short, fast stages. And I like that format because I can recognize what's going on. And then you springtime in the desert. You come from the North Country and you go to the springtime in the desert. Life is great. So that's the premier match for me. And a lot of their matches have emulated that base style stages. But then you go.
So
go ahead.
they took that that natural terrain type long range, covering a lot of ground match, and then kind of morphed it and fit it into the facility that they had available, which was bays.
Correct. And it made it feel more USPSA pistol match style, sort of, but with 3-gun. But it never felt like it was, oh, why am I doing this? I've shot enough matches where if you're shooting a 125-yard gong with a slug, it's like, I have a carbine right here.
Yeah. This is not the weapon I would choose to make this shot ordinarily.
So again, I'm not trying to preach practical here, but there is a practical application to the firearms, and a match director knows that if you got a carbine, I'm going to shoot that with a carbine given a choice. So you see some, and sometimes that's just match flavor, and we vote with our wallets because we're customers, and some matches I go to, and some other matches I don't. Not to go right after the don't matches, but another great match out there is Rocky Mountain 3-gun, which is as close to Soldier Fortune as you're going to get, but you get to do walkthroughs. And you better do walkthroughs because sometimes the targets are hard to find. You got to pick and choose your spots. And Denise and JJ Johnson do a fabulous job of putting on the premier natural terrain event. It's the antithesis of Superstition. Superstition is clean, straightforward, bay style stages with a little bit of long range, some kind of neat props, usually a car or two, some nice walls. They had a ship one time. Well, you go to Rocky Mountain and it's natural terrain. Don't need much in the way of props. The props are Mother Nature. Over this branch, under this branch, next to this rock, up this gully, down this wash, over this trail, whatever it is. And they might use some other natural props from, what was the name of the trail? Give me the trail name.
John Muir.
No, not John Muir, Apache Trail. One of the wagon trails you used to wander through that area. I can't think of my history there.
Yeah, I drove over it as I was cruising into the range. What is that?
Yeah. I'm drawing a blank. But either way, they have old adobe buildings and mining encampments, and you might shoot over old ruin of that kind. Again, those are the two matches on each end of the spectrum that are, for me, must-goes. Now, I haven't been able to make Rocky Mountain the last few years. It's just a bad turn of luck. But Superstition and Rocky Mountain are two ends of the 3-gun spectrum. Now, in between those is 3-Gun Nation. Now, the TV show is not what 3-Gun is. It's what 3-Gun Nation TV show is. And I love the show and the format. It's cool. It works neat. But what it really is the regional series. The regional events that 3-Gun Nation has been put on have a little flavor of everything. There's some natural terrain. There's some bay stages, a little bit of everything. But their flavor is, if it's a paper target, it's rifle or pistol. If it's a round steel, it's rifle or pistol. If it's clay targets, it's shotgun only. And there's the stages. Stage what gun you need to shoot where, and shoot what you got to shoot with what tool you want to shoot it with. So, I mean, some of it's delineated more than that, but for the most part, that's the rules. There's the targets. Solve the problem. So you get to go fast, you get to go slow, you get to be accurate, you get to choose your gun often on some stages. It is a little bit of all the best in each regional event. So you have Superstition, you've got Rocky Mountain in every regional event. So there's something for everyone. 3-gun is as diverse as it gets based on the terrain and what's available. There's never an excuse not to put on a 3-gun match, even if all you got is a bunch of 25-yard bays. 3-Gun Nation has a bunch of stages you can put in 25-yard bays and have a great time. Besides, you can always use reduced targets, and that's one thing people forget. Oh, the targets are wide open and easy. You don't have to be. You can put small targets out. So
yeah, my local match just recently started shooting some like little prairie dogs. The little skinny ones that are kind of long. Those are kind of a pain, even at 90 yards.
Yes, they're one of the targets. I I don't want to say I dread, because I don't dread any target. Any target given right amount of time can be hit. So you need to get that out of your head right away. But if I see what they call skinny Sammies, the little tiny narrow pepper poppers, the spring activated poppers from MGM,
Yes.
at 100, 125 yards, it's like, ooh, those are so easy to miss. It's not even funny. They are windage challenged. Elevation, you can be all over the place. That's easy. But windage, and weird thing is, if you think about it, a little tip for the three gunners, often you get to brace your gun on something, and usually it's in the horizontal. So you've got the gun resting on the horizontal. So you've taken care of the vertical element. But where's your pivot point? Wherever that forehand's contacted, it's free space all the way to where it contacts your shoulder. Now you've got only the horizontal to worry about, and it's magnified. Or at least it feels that way, because you're looking through your scope, or your optic of choice, and you see this almost only horizontal movement. And you're like, oh my God, I've never seen that before. Well, when you shoot offhand, you don't see it. When you shoot prone, you don't see it, because the oscillations are almost universal in nature. They move in every direction, and you're used to that. That's calming. That's normal. But as soon as you brace a gun up against an object in the horizontal or the vertical, the other element is now at play more than the first element. Are you following me?
I'm totally following you.
And
You're blowing my mind here.
Yes. So unless you practice that enough to see that, you're going to be surprised when it happens. So the skinny Sammies, you're shooting over an incline, a faux roof, and you're shooting at a skinny Sammy 125 yards. It's like, oh man, that's hard to hit, because you've got the windage element is going crazy, and those targets are very narrow. And I don't like them. So don't put them out there, match directors.
Yeah, those are terrible. Let's ban them.
That's ban them. Oh, yeah, there we go. Ban hammer.
There you go. So that's cool that you gave us the two spectrums, and then everywhere in between is Three Gun Nation regional matches, and those matches look fantastic from like the photos and the videos that I've seen, and unfortunately I haven't been to one myself. Have you gotten to any regionals this year?
No, I haven't. This has been a really weird year for me. I shot Superstition, and then I shot the USPSA Nationals, which, by the way, in the last few years, last 3, I think, or 4, had become truly excellent, excellent events. Pete Rensing, the match director, who now is the match director of the matches, bang up job. If you haven't been to a USPSA Multi-Gun Nationals, beg, borrow, steal your way there. Great event. Now, this last year's event, I really enjoyed it, but you got just enough rope to hang yourself, which is good course design. Several ways to accomplish every task, every stage, several ways to solve the problem. But also, the fast guys will trip themselves up. The slower guys could make up a little time, so to speak, by being solid in their execution. But it would flow, and then you'd have to stop somewhere. And it would flow a little bit, and you got to stop somewhere. Pete had it set up just right, and it worked out really well, and I thought it was one of the better matches I shot this year. So I shot Superstition, USPSA Multi-Gun Nationals, Pete Rensing at the helm, and then
Shotgun in Minnesota.
We drove to Minnesota and shot the Nordic component shotgun match, where, boy, I was thinking the wrong thing there. Oh, I'll just break out my trusty pump gun that I haven't shot in a year, and I'm going to run out there and shoot it. Well, that's a lame excuse, but I had a great time, and I punched a slug on a target I wasn't supposed to punch a slug on, and
Oh,
that was a 160-point stage. Now, had I won the stage, I might have been second, but that means woulda, coulda, shoulda, BS, woulda, coulda, shoulda, my butt. I didn't, so I ended up where I ended up, and I earned the finish I had. But I had a great time, and they're a great club, and they do good work. So if you're in the area and you like shooting shotgun, the Nordic Components Shotgun Championships in Minnesota are fantastic.
I really dig all shotgun matches. We've got one here in Colorado, and it is so much fun. I mean, shotgun but shotgun is like my favorite of the three, just because you don't have to be nearly as accurate as with a pistol. So I kind of like the shotgun matches.
But you can miss with a shotgun, can't you?
Yeah. Trust me, you can miss with a shotgun, especially with when they break out those sporting clay turrets, like you were talking about earlier. Once they throw those into the match, it turns a lot of really good shooters into a lot of excuses. Yeah,
right now the World IPSC Shotgun Championships are going on in Italy, and several of my friends are there competing right now. and I wish him the best of luck. I hope it's going very well for him. But it brings me back to shotgun-only matches, and Neil Beverley, who was the rules chairman for many years in the UK practical shotgun and for the world body, he mentioned to me for an article I wrote many years ago, he said the shotgun in his mind was a thinking man's tool. Think about it for a minute. It shoots multi-projectile birdshot. It will shoot multi-projectile buckshot. It shoots solid projectile slugs, and it has a wide array of chokes, and it can be loaded in several different methods. No other gun encompasses all those elements. It's an interesting tool.
It is, and Patrick, I'm really glad that we got on this shotgun topic, because that's one of the things that comes up time and time again. If you search how do I blank with shotgun, how do I blank shotgun, is all these articles by Patrick Kelley, and you've really contributed a lot to the community, and it's fantastic. I've seen a lot of guys have told me, off the social media, in person, at the range, like Patrick Kelley's article on shotgun fitment changed the way I shoot shotgun. So where did all this come about, and how did you gain all this knowledge that you've been putting out over the years?
I initially begrudgingly accepted the moniker guru of shotguns, and it was completely accidental on my part. I wanted to write for gun magazines mostly because I read so much tripe. So much stuff is written by guys who have journalism degrees and don't really know the subject matter very well, and it's unfortunate. And you can't break into American Handgunner. Good luck. You can write all you want. You have to know somebody that knows somebody, it seems like. And maybe that's not the case, but that's how I feel about it. I've been very fortunate to write some articles for Shooting Illustrated. Ed Friedman is now the editor of that magazine. And Ed, if you're listening, I wish you would. I've got some more stuff for you. But I wrote for Frontside Magazine, which is a great place to start. And it's a good place to stay because you really are helping out the membership. And I wrote some article on, I forgot what I wrote it on. Oh, yeah. One of my earliest ones was, it was called The Shotguns and the Need for Speed. And it didn't start off that way. It started off that when I was shooting bowling pins, and I shot bowling pins hard for 8 years, that when I was shooting auto shotgun, and I was shooting 1100s in those days because I could afford that, and they were a dime a dozen at gun shows, I was shooting pins fast enough, and this is going to sound blasphemous, but it's not. It's factual. I was pulling the trigger faster than the gun would cycle. Well, I didn't know that at the time. I called it stutter stepping. The pins are right there. They're just 25 feet away on a pin table. I'm like, come on, it's not the difference, whether 16 inches on center, it's pretty easy to go to the next pin. It doesn't take a great interval. So I was like, why am I doing that? If I slowed down, I could hit them all. But if I went faster, now the 1100 will only go bang when it's fully in battery. So you can pull the trigger all you want while it's out of battery. It won't go bang, and it won't drop the hammer prematurely. It will not. So I took a crude video camera that I had and a buddy of mine, and I videotaped 100 rounds of me shooting that 1100. And I slowed it down best I could with the software I had, and went, wow, I'm actually pulling the trigger before that bolt closes. Wow, okay. And that was the quest. That was the impetus behind writing the first article on relative shotgun speeds. And it wasn't because I was so fast, it's because I recognized that a human could pull the trigger before the bolt closed on 1100. Well, what's the fastest shotgun in the world? Benelli. And Benelli's going to hate me if they listen to this, but I told the head of Benelli when I got hired the first time, that, they're not the world's fastest cycling shotgun. And they're not. So, big deal. They're the world's most reliable shotgun, and that's really all that counts. But, in fact, they do cycle very quickly. What happens is bolt bounce. The bolt closes, bounces slightly out of battery, and you can have a hammer follow on a 16 split. Now, 1100 will run every time on a 16 split. It'll run a 15. It'll run a 14. 13 is about as fast as you can run a split on 1100. Any faster than that, you're pulling the trigger while the bolt is still closing. On a Benelli, it will close and open again. It'll bounce out of battery, and the hammer hits the bolt slightly out of battery, rides the bolt down. That's hammer follow. It's not truly hammer follow. You're just having the hammer ride the bolt down on its bounce. It hits on a bounce, it doesn't go bang. It shouldn't go bang. It's out of battery. Okay, I got to try this. I had an Auto 5 hanging around. I'm going to try an Auto 5. Well, sure enough, the Auto 5, designed in 1900 by John Moses Browning, the wizard of all guns, You hard pressed to go faster than a Browning Auto 5. It will do 11 splits. Now you have to hang on to it. You got to muscle up. You got to man up to run an Auto 5 at speed because you have reciprocate. Oh, we got to lighten the bolt on the Benelli because of the recoil. No, 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 no. The whole barrel reciprocates 3 inches back, smacks the rear of the receiver, and goes all the way forward in reciprocating motion on an Auto 5. It's a long recoil operated shotgun. But if you manhandle it, control it, and point it, it runs great. And it's the shotgun I ran at Soldier Fortune because it would run and you couldn't outrun it. And because I have a stupid penchant for speed, I had to have a shotgun that I could not run. So I wrote the first article based on those findings. And I was basically, any more shotgun articles? So I wrote about frangible shot. I wrote about chokes. I read about gun fit. And it's all based on what people, the most misunderstood of our firearms. Rifles, multi-point contact, put your head on the stock through the scope, pull the trigger, bang. Rifle shooting is not that difficult unless you want to be a really good rifleman. Pistol shooting is very difficult because they got a, short sight radius at the end of your arms hanging off your shoulders. It takes a little more effort there. Patience, visual patience, and being able to break a shot when the sights are aligned. Shotguns, misunderstood. People just buy them and use them. Almost no one has a properly fit shotgun. Look at all the ladies shooting. And unfortunately, I want to write something that says, Dads, quit making your sons and daughters shoot 14.5-inch length of pull guns. But it's hard to get them to do that because there's a financial component involved. They're shooting dad's shotgun. Well, they got to make do with what they got. But the quickest way to have someone not want to shoot a shotgun is have them shoot one that's ill-fitting. That was the reason behind the shotgun fitting article because nobody really knew about it. There's some articles in some UK publications and in the sporting clays world when I shot lots of sporting clays over the year. I shot sporting clays before I shot 3-gun. And shotgun fits everything. You just want to look at the target and pull the trigger. That gun should already be fit. So I just applied the basics of gun fitting to 3-gun with a twist. And again, I'm getting verbose. I told you I would be. What happens?
That's totally cool.
Cool. Okay. The other element in shotgunning at speed, other than just the gun fitting you for length of pull and where your face rides in relationship to the sights, is pitch. Now, pitch is the angle of the butt plate or the recoil pad in relationship to the sights that are level. So you take the gun, basically flip the gun upside down, put it on a hard surface. So now you have a datum line. Datum line is the hard surface. Now, if you go up the recoil pad and if it's perpendicular to that, that's not a good thing. It's going to be pitched. It's going to have an angle to it one way or the other. And I'll give you the simple part of it. When you shoulder the shotgun, I'm looking at a picture of you shooting right now. Your shotgun fits you rather well. 2 elements. One,
hey, all right.
The recoil pad needs to fit at heel and toe. In other words, the top of the pad, the high part closest to your cheek is the heel. The bottom part is the toe. If they're both in full contact with your shoulder, the shotgun's not going to go up or down. It's going to go straight back. If just the toe is touching the bottom of it and there's a big gap at the heel, what's going to happen at a recoil? The gun's going to want to fill that gap. To fill that gap, the muzzle has to lift. And the reverse is also true. If it's only hitting at the heel and missing at the toe when the gun goes bang, it's going to go down. Muzzle's going to drop. Grasshopper. Muzzle down isn't so bad. But full contact is best. That way you're always riding the recoil. You can only run it so fast anyway. So that's element number 1 is having full contact patch. Yet you have to have that with the stock adjusted so your eyeball's in the right plane for the sights. So those are independent. You can adjust one and it affects the other. So you have to understand the relationship. Again, that's why I wrote the article because it's misunderstood. And the other one is length of pull. Almost everyone runs a shotgun too long because we do 2 things that nobody else does in the shotgunning world. Not only do we mount quickly, we dismount quickly. So a slightly shorter than normal length shotgun is an advantage to all of us. I'm looking at you right now. You run your thumb over the top. Most people run the thumb over their strong hand, your trigger finger hand is over the top of the stock. And it's within about an inch of your nose. That's correct. Inch and a half max. You see lots of younger shooters and lady shooters, because their shotguns are too long, with their cheek 4 inches away from their thumb. Wow. That's an ill-fitting shotgun. That lady could shoot so much better if someone would take a hacksaw to that stupid stock and shorten it up so it would fit her. Another thing happens there. Now you've put all the recoil energy closer to the mass, i.e. your body. So there's all kinds of little things that people should recognize about how a shotgun works and not obsess over how much more they're going to hog out their loading port.
Yeah, that seems to be like the only thing that people really care about.
Topic du jour.
Yeah, no kidding. So, quick question: are you a machinist?
I have machinist skills.
Oh, okay. Well, you said datum, so I was just thinking.
I was a tradesman in power production. I have operated power plants and I've done maintenance work in power plants since I was 20 years old, either steam or hydro, little hydro, big steam. And it's just those things you pick up along the way. And so,
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Cool. Just one thing that stood out to me, and I was like, hey, I wonder if. So the other thing would be that, after I read your article on shotgun fitment, the next time I was at the range with let's see, I want to say it was the Trap Club.
mm-hmm.
I asked one of the guys, like, what do you think about shotgun fitment? And he's, said the exact same things that you just did. It's all important, and everybody gets it wrong. And then, of course, there's, a local guy who's also a blacksmith that'll do some voodoo magic and teach you this and that. But his was like, an over-under application. And once he realized I was shooting 3-gun, he wouldn't talk to me anymore. But but it's interesting that, there's a lot of this knowledge out there, Patrick, that seems to be like we're trying to learn it over again.
Yes.
And if we just kind of maybe expanded our horizons, then we could we could learn from maybe some of this information that's been out there for years and apply it to our sport. Now, is that something that you did in your research, or is this all hard won?
Absolutely.
Okay.
No, absolutely. It's because there's really nothing new under the sun, and there really isn't. Anyway, interesting shout out to Ian. I can't remember. Is it Hunter? Ian of Forgotten Weapons. I love his YouTube channel, and now he's on Full 30. I wish I could get on Full 30, but I'm not cool enough. But anyways, Ian has done Forgotten Weapons. He's a absolute encyclopedic knowledge of antique guns, modern guns, military weapons, applications, military battles and history. I love his channel. He does a great job showing all, a Bergman pistol or an early Mauser rifle or a Boys anti-tank rifle, whatever it is. And once he starts talking about the mechanics of it, which I absolutely immersed myself in, you're going, wow. Not only were there cooler designs pre-1900 than there are now, almost everything we do now has already been done then. Whether it's direct gas impingement or a tappet system, a piston system, rotary bolt, delayed locking. I mean, delayed roller locking came along later, but most of that stuff has already been done. So let's not reinvent the wheel. Go do the research, and then, like you said, apply it to current technique. That's where the changes have occurred over the years, is technique, not the tools. We obsess with tools, but we are Americans. We want to buy an edge. I get that. And it helps with the economy. It helps with my sponsors. So please buy a Rhino rifle because it's the coolest rifle on the planet. Actually, they're super great rifles, but you don't need, my sponsors are going to hate me. You don't need a $2,400 rifle to play the game well. You need $2,400 worth of skill set. And yes, if again, what we talked about before, a callback, if you buy new equipment and it gets you to go out to the range and practice, then go buy new equipment. That's good for you. But it looks like you're shooting a Mossberg, right? In the picture, anyways. If it runs all the time, it's a good gun. That's all it's got to be. Now, I wish I bash them every once in a while because some of them don't run all the time. But no shotgun runs all the time. The closest thing we've got to it truly is a Benelli. I shoot for Stoeger, but the closest thing that runs all the time is a properly, not a Miss Smithed Benelli, because there's too many butchers out there that think they know what they're doing and they don't. So unless you're taking someone who knows what they're doing, whether it's a TTI or an Accurate Iron or a Benny Hill or Rose Action Sports or somebody like that who know what they're doing, the home smith is generally going to monkey it up. I mean, look at light and bolts. Oh, my gun ran lights loads. I got light and bolt. No. That's counterproductive. You don't understand how inertia operation works. I got to lighten my bolt. No, you don't. Lighten.
Doesn't it bounce harder?
Well, you're right.
Or wouldn't it bounce
Simple
more?
Mechanics are that if the bolt weighs less, its velocity is going to be higher. So it's going to hit you in the cheek harder, or equal to what it was before. Because it's an inertia operated gun. The gun is, at the moment of firing, the only thing that actually moves rearward is the whole gun except for what they call the carrier, and other people want to call the bolt. There's the carrier, and then there's a bolt head or locking head. Bolt and locking head, I think is what they call it. The locking head, which is the chrome part on the end of the Benelli, locks into the barrel extension on the barrel. The barrel is attached to the receiver, and the receiver is all one unit. So when the gun goes bang, everything goes rearward except for the bolt carrier. And there's a spring between the locking head and the bolt carrier. When that all goes backwards, the spring between the locking head and the bolt carrier is compressed just a little bit. It stores energy. And as the recoil subsides, now the spring says, oh, I can release my energy because, the gun has quit moving in rearward motion. Now I'm going to release my energy and I'm going to cycle the action. So if you make the gun really heavy, it can't recoil backwards, so it makes it less reliable. And if you make the bolt so light, like you made it out of titanium, it would never unlock because it doesn't have enough mass, enough inertia to remain stationary while the shotgun recoils around it. So lightening the bolt does not make a Benelli more reliable. It can make it cycle a little faster, although I've yet to prove that except for one M2 that I have that will do 12 splits. It's the only one I think that does. But I've had to take it to really extreme degrees and I have to use hot loads. So if you make the bolt light enough, and I've got some really, really light ones, you have to make the receiver, the receiver and barrel has to recoil in time and space more quickly, more violently, at a faster rate of speed in order to compress the inertia spring. Because you've made the bolt so light, the bolt carrier so light, that it wants to go backward at the same rate of speed that the whole gun does. And it can't. It has to stay somewhat motionless for a fraction of a second to compress the inertia spring. Does that even make sense? I probably confused the crap out of you.
No, I'm definitely going to have to go back and listen to that again.
Okay. It's explained in a good video out there, but
I can hear people hitting their 15-second rewind button on their iPhones right now.
What's Pat saying again? But
yeah, exactly. That's fantastic, Pat. That's a great way of explaining it, and it makes a lot of sense as far as the inertia operated. Now, you mentioned that you shoot for Stoeger. Now, is that inertia operated as well?
Yep, it's basically a Benelli clone in its operating system. It's executed a little differently, and quite honestly, I actually think how they've set up their cam system, because the bolt has to rotate in and out of battery. Instead of having a cam pin, like in an M2, that goes up through a cam slot that has to bang its way through on a Benelli, the Stoeger has a big flat cam, very wide, smooth, a lot of surface area, a lot of place for grease and smooth operation, built onto the locking bolt, and a cam pin that goes across, and it rides on it. Now, they couldn't, as far as I can tell, they can't infringe on a patent. This is Stoeger, and this is Benelli, and we're going to license you to use inertia, but you can't duplicate the M2. Well, they came up with a different way to do it, and personally, I think it's superior. The only thing that the Stoeger doesn't have going for it is that, it doesn't have the, super recoil stock, but so what? The Comfort Tech stock, Taron Butler prefers the non-Comfort Tech stock of an M1 Super 90 as opposed to the M2. He prefers that. But is it longevity? Are the parts as good? Are the parts as good? Are the parts as good? I speaks great English. Are the parts as good? It's made in Turkey, and I maintain that with the advent of CNC and ISO 9000 or 9001 or 9002 compliance, it doesn't make a difference what language you speak, because code is code. So if that machine's spitting out parts that are within spec based on good quality code writing, the parts on the other end doesn't make a difference what language you speak are the same. The difference is the hand fitting. And the closer your parts come out of the machine without hand fitting, the better. Because now you might have a Turk or someone from Pakistan or someone else, wherever the gun's built, is having to hand assemble this stuff. And workers work at different quality levels. It's the human element. So the more human element you take out, the better. So the Stoeger is a good quality shotgun. It runs. It needs a couple little tweaks like every gun does, but it's a $500 shotgun, not a $1,500 shotgun. And I wouldn't promote it if it didn't work. And I do promote it because it works.
So you've obviously had extensive experience with the Stoeger, and I say that because I've read, tons of articles, and the very first modified ports I saw on them were obviously on your shotguns. They got multi-gun media, watermarks on them, right?
Yep.
So how did that relationship come about? And then the development of the M3K.
Thank you for asking. That's a really good question, because that's something that I don't think many people know about.
Yeah, I'm interested in like the gestation and how everything started. If you haven't told, that's been kind of the theme of everything I've asked you. But
no,
tell us about that.
I've been shooting for Benelli 4 years at the time, and my contract allows me to. I have a stipend and I can order guns. That's my deal with Benelli. So I gave my contact at Benelli a call and said, "Hey, M3000, you just came out with it. Can I have one? What do you want one for?" I said, "Well, quite frankly, I want to shoot one to see if it's worthy of even making it into a 3-gun shotgun. So because it's a budget shotgun, could you please send me one and just let me, I'll destroy it. I'll just cut it to pieces playing with it. But I want to see if it's worthy of a shot as a 3-gun shotgun." No one had ever, well, I wouldn't say no one. I think someone might have tried an M2000 at one time. And some guys, I know Kurt Miller was playing around with another cat and the CZ712, which is a gas gun. But either way, I requested the M3000. They sent me one. I took it out and shot it. And I know, much like the tale from Tale of Tom Sawyer, getting somebody else to help you whitewash the picket fence, because you make it sound all cool and somebody else wants to help you do it. I have some young people here, a couple of kids I mentor to improve their shooting skill. "Hey, Greg, you want to shoot this shotgun? Sure. Here's some ammo. Go shoot it." So I lube and oil and hand it to Greg, and he'll put 250 rounds to it in an hour and a half. He'll just sit there and just bang steel and just shoot it till it's pouring water on it. Just keep shooting it, kid. So once it got, about 1,000 rounds to it, it's like, okay, this is a solid shotgun. It's right out of the box. All I did was clean it, lube it, and hand it to a kid and use appropriate ammo for it. And it ran and ran and ran and ran and ran. Okay, it's got good bones. Take it home. I open up the loading port. I put sights on it. I adjust the stock a little bit, do a few more tweaks, add an extension to it, polish up some of the internals, write the article for Shooting Illustrated. It does well. In fact, it does very well. It was one of the more popular articles they've had. And no small thanks to Jesse Tischhauser, who went, "Dude, let's promote this," or he did. Started telling people about it, and they said, "Check it out." And then Jesse, and that was kind of an interesting deal here. I got contacted by one of my contacts at Benelli. I'm still shooting for Benelli, but I've already completed the article and it's done. I get a call saying, "Hey, what do you think about Jesse Tischhauser?" Well, I guess he's a good dude, man. I mean, if you want social media master, he's the Howard Stern of shooting media. I mean that in every way you could possibly apply that.
I was thinking that for a minute.
I bet you were, but I had to say it, so you didn't have to. And Jesse goes, "Well, man, you think it's that good, but I'm going to try it." And I got my contact at Benelli. He said, "What do you think?" I said, "Jesse, yeah, give him shotguns. Give him whatever he wants. If it's, everyone's got their own deal with Benelli. If you can make a deal with him, he'd be great to shoot it." Because I still had to finish my contract with Benelli. And then I get contacted a little while later. Say, "Hey, we got this Ryan Muller guy. I think I've heard of him. He's like an okay dude. We want to pick him up. We want him to shoot for Stoeger. Could you come up with a shotgun?" It's well similar to the one I built for the article, but I want it back. I mean, how many articles do you write that you get and it's on forever? So when it went to him, and boy, Ryan was a good dude about it. He shot it for a season. And I said, I'll buy it back. He goes, "No, I'll give it to you. You ran it. You built the gun. I ran it for a year." And I said, "That's fantastic. He only put like 5,000 rounds through it, but you can see it's got some wear on it. I got it back in the gun safe right now. I'm going to write a follow-up article on it. This is the gun that professional shooter Ryan Muller ran for a season that I built for the article. And here it is a year later, and 5,000 rounds, no worse for the wear." So that's how that gun got off the ground. I asked for the gun. I wrote the article. Jesse got started. Ryan got started. A year later, I'm no longer in a contract with Benelli, and they said, "Hey, you wrote the article. You promoted the gun. Why don't you shoot for Stoeger?" Well, I'll put my money where my mouth is. Sure, I'll shoot a Stoeger. I mean, how would it look if I did or something about shooting those?
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm the guy that wrote the Stoeger article, but I've only shooting Benelli's, so have fun with your Stoeger over there.
So I've been very well pleased with it. It's run very well for me. I'm very happy with it. I know every shotgun, like we talked about, every shotgun malfunctions on occasion, but I haven't had any with my Stoeger. It's been running very, very nicely. But again, I'm rather attentive to the details and nuances of mechanical operation. So all my tools work. Long before I ever considered anyone working on a gun of mine, I built all my own kit for years and years. So if I have a claim to fame in any match championships to my name, and I have several, it's mostly due to the fact that my gear always runs. Why? Because I build it and I maintain it. And if you do that, you'll have good working stuff.
Well said. I like that, and it's cool that you're able to transfer your day job skills into your hobby like that.
Yes.
And keep them running like a top. Well, Patrick, we're like right on our hour here, and I'm really enjoying this. So we're gonna definitely have to do like a part 2 sometime.
Yes.
But I want to be respectful of your time this evening since we're on a school night here. I got 2 last questions for you if you'll allow them.
You bet.
First of all, where do you see the sport of 3-gun headed?
Well, where I'd like to see it go is, and I think 3-Gun Nation, there's some detractors out there, and there's detractors of everything, whether it's sporting clays or skeet or trap running. There's always detractors.
That's how you know you're doing something right, I think.
Well, that's a fair litmus test, and I know some of the detractors personally, and they're good guys, and it's okay. But 3-Gun Nation, and I don't work for them anymore. You know, all of 2015, I haven't been under contract with 3-Gun Nation. They're doing the show, a different format. They didn't need me on the show, and that's fine. But I wish them all the best. Why? Only because they're a couple of good cats, especially my buddy Chad and the whole crew do great work, Charles Soule and Tennille and Pete Brown and all those cats. There would not be, I'm firmly convinced, there would not be the great amount, the ocean of sponsored shooters out there without the exposure 3-Gun Nation has brought to media. It's a fact. There wasn't this level of sponsorship before 3-Gun Nation. Now there is. Cause and effect? Coincidence? I think not. So what I'd like to see happen in the sport as it continues to grow, and it is growing, is that we do see more professional ranks. Right now, professional sticks in some people's craw, and it sticks in mine to some degree. In that, and how I put it, I am professional and others are professional in skill set, and I'd like to think demeanor. That's what I pride myself on. I have a good quality skill set, and I'm approachable and helpful, and I try to do everything I can to give back to the sport whenever I can. If you, sir, not you, but the audience in general, are wearing a shooter jersey and you're part of the Pro Series, you ought to act accordingly. And I believe most of them do. 90% of them do. And that's exactly how they should walk and talk and carry themselves as professionals, even though they don't get a paycheck, which is the other definition. Yeah, you're paid to do it. Okay. If I'm sponsored, I'm getting some pay to do it. I'm getting some guns to do this. I'm getting it in exchange for promoting a product that I believe in. That's what I believe is the relationship I have with my sponsors. I'm a professional shooter in my skill set and my approach to the game and what I give back. And I don't need to challenge anyone to do this because almost all of them are doing it. But the next leap, the next iteration is, can we come up with a league that will allow a guy to make wages as a shooter? If you're a top 400 golfer, you're making a living. You're making wages plus. If you're top 100, you're making money. If you're top 200, but they think of it this way, there's a whole lot more golfers than there are competitive shooters. So I get that. But even if we got the appropriate amount to our number of shooters, there should be 10 guys making a living at shooting. We're not there yet. But I firmly believe the guys at 3-Gun Nation want that to happen. And they're doing what they can to get there. And they're either going to push the cart or pull the cart. It doesn't make any difference. If some other people or other events want to look the other way, that's fine. Run your own matches how you want to. 3-Gun Nation, I believe, is going to carry on. And I shoot all the events. So again, we've talked about this before. I do not step on one to get to the other. I love it all. And I truly feel that way. But 3-Gun Nation is carrying the water for the lion's share of the shooters out there, whether they know it or not.
Yeah, and like you said, all that flows down to, and increases membership or
Truly.
shootership,
Yes,
whatever
I like that.
at other matches. And, rising tide raises all ships.
Yes, sir.
So there's club matches popping up all over. My local club sees, dozens of new shooters every weekend. So yeah, it's definitely out there.
What's your other question?
The other question would be, sir, if you could leave the audience with just one thought or one piece of advice, what would it be?
Okay, I'll give you, I have plenty, but I'll give you one that I really would like people to take to heart. Skill first, gadgets second. Learn your trade. You're a shooter. Master the fundamentals. They are absolutely the building block of everything else you do with that gun. Trigger control and sight alignment are not a joke, and they're not a passing fad. If you want to shoot well, you have to master both of those. And it applies to shotguns too, whether it's stationary or moving targets. Master the fundamentals. Gear is secondary. You got to have stuff that works. You got to have it tuned to fit you. It's got to run. But beyond that, work on you. Don't spend so much time worrying about the latest compensator, the latest scope, or the latest lightweight shot shell. You, fundamentals first, gear second.
I love it. That's an awesome final thought. Multigunmedia.com, facebook.com/patrick.e.kelley, Kelley, youtube.com/multigunvideo for all those awesome videos of the Out of the Box series, which I really enjoy.
Thank you.
And, hey, send an email to Full 30 and say, why isn't Patrick on there? Come on. The guru of shotguns needs to be on. So, Patrick, hey, thanks for taking the time out to be on the show, man. And, thanks for bringing it for the audience.
Just because you won't ever do it for yourself, don't pat yourself on the back. I will. I'm on the show, Dave, because you are very professional. I like the format. I like how it's done. Very good work. And please have me back for a second one. I really enjoyed my time here. And I believe you're getting the message to the masses. And I want to help you with that. Thank you very much.
Wow. Thanks, Patrick. That means a lot, man.
Catch up with you later, my friend.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Patrick Kelley. Patrick was an amazing guest. We covered a ton of ground, and Patrick held nothing back in sharing all his knowledge. Can you imagine being at a range and having Patrick Kelley belong as a member there and him be your mentor? Like, what an amazing opportunity that is. I hope those kids he was talking about totally appreciate that. If you have any thoughts, feedback, or guest suggestions, you can email me. I'm Dave at 3Gun Show. As always, please leave a review in iTunes. It only takes a minute, and it is huge for getting the show in front of shooters like you and I. Just visit 3gunshow.com/iTunes, click on the little button there, and it'll take you right to where you can leave a review. If you like the show and you want to show your support, you can do so by using our affiliate link when you shop at Brownells. Just go to 3gunshow.com/Brownells. Shop like normal. We earn a small commission on what you buy at no additional cost to you, and it helps to cover the cost of hosting, email list, Skype, and the like. Thank you so much for downloading, listening, and subscribing to the show. I'll catch you in the next episode.
If you are finished, unload, show clear.